Hey folks, Bruce McDonald, the Talamanca Review. Just playing a little music there at the beginning. I don't think I'll get tagged on that for copyright. At least I hope I don't. I wanted to just start with something that I find beautiful, anyways. And today's podcast is called A Perfect World because it is a perfect world. The imperfections in it are us, working out our imperfections as we seek perfection. Okay? And perfection is living in the grace of the Holy Spirit at all times. But how many of us can do that, really? We get there, we screw it up somehow, we scramble back up the hill, we hold that ground for a while, fall back down. It's being human, right? And it's okay, man. So I want to talk today about everything good and beautiful in the world, and I want to take calls. Okay? Like, I want to take calls. So, if you can call in, then do call in. I mean, the information's right there. It's 864-810-1039. I'm ready to take calls. And I'd really like to talk to some people tonight, you know. That includes you too, Chris. And if Chris calls in, because he likes to hang around and talk to me, you can still call in. You know, Skype can accommodate up to, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 12 simultaneous callers in a group call. You can call by phone or you can call in Skype. But as I go through some of the darkest things on the planet, which is a forte of mine, as I said, I have immunities to this. I sometimes wonder why or how some of you can even survive my podcast, you know, and, why you're not vomiting or feeling wretched as you learn these things. I mean, I did as they passed through my system, and then I just sort of, built up, I guess, what I would call an understanding. Immunity is not the right word, understanding. But I spend a lot of time on some very dark topics, like some of the darkest topics on this planet, and I go much deeper than anyone else, right? That's my bailiwick, and those of you who watch me, there's something for you here. There's some sort of resolution for something you've been through, something you've experienced, and that's good. But tonight I wanted to take the time to tell you that, look, this life is really perfect. When you get it figured out and you understand how it all works, it's perfect because even the ugliness is allowed because we have free will and we're allowed to make mistakes. And some of those mistakes are absolutely grievous. And this commentary is not just limited to the world. Okay, it's our solar system, our galaxy, our universe, and other universes that have hacked their way into this one for energy harvesting. And that's all right too, right? I mean, at the end of the day, everything is just trying to stay alive. And stay alive as they want to stay alive. Am I going to say there is only beauty in this world? No, I can't tell you that. But I can tell you that it would be a very ugly world if there was only beauty here. Because it's the contrasts that make it so beautiful. It's putting it all together that makes it so unbelievably beautiful, right? Tonight I want to talk a little bit about my life up here. You know, I sort of do that at the end of The Devil in Us. You know, I came here to Costa Rica in 2014, almost 10 years to the day. I think it's like I was first here in September or October of 2014. And at the time, I was working for a large bank, and I really was making decent money, with a little bit of overtime in a week, anywhere from $9,000 to $13,000 a month Canadian, which would be about $7,500 to $10,000 US a month. It's good money, but you don't get that kind of money in a professional capacity without giving up a little bit of your soul. And I had to build this place. So I was cranky when I worked for the bank. I was did not fit in well here. You know, what they call the Pura Vida lifestyle here in Costa Rica. But I got through it, right? The building process was incredible, you know. All in, I think I bought the land here in 2015. Until then, I lived in other parts of Costa Rica. And when I bought the land, I got my son over when he finished high school, and we did the walls to this house I'm in now. Didn't get the roof on or anything. That's all he was able to get the first go at it. And we got taken advantage of quite a bit. People are going to do that, right? It's just human nature. The number of honest people I meet in this world are very, very few and far between. I myself am painfully honest. And it's not that I'm any better than anyone. I've just figured out you can't get away with anything. And when you get your vibration up to a certain level, you get what's called boomerang karma. Meaning, if you trespass, you're going to receive the response to that trespass almost immediately. It's like stepping on a rake. It's like a Three Stooges skit. You know, you step on the rake, the handle comes up and hits you in the face. So I'm painfully honest, not out of some innate virtue, but just because in the pursuit of my spiritual unfoldment, it came to be known to me that any dishonesty I practiced, any deception I practiced, would be paid back threefold on my head almost immediately, or like within a day or a week at the most. So I just don't cheat people. Plus, I know there's no such thing as privacy. We're all being watched by many beings at the same time. All of you have beings around watching you. Every aspect of your life is watched. Okay? And I'm not talking about government surveillance. I'm talking about from the other dimensions. They could be your ancestors. They could be your guides. They could just be another group of beings studying your life from another dimension. What's going on this planet is absolutely mind-boggling and astounding and beautiful when you figure it all out. It's a grand cosmic experiment, the human race on this planet. And it's a beautiful experiment. And what you can get from this body and this lifetime is, I think, almost unparalleled anywhere in creation. That's how valuable this human life is. And there are beings fighting to incarnate on this planet. So those of you who are depressed, suicidal, or anything like that, boy, have you ever fallen off the turnip truck? To not have what I would call a constant state of appreciation for life is the first sin. Okay? It doesn't mean, I'm not talking about human perfection here. I mean, I lose my temper. I mean, man, one of the cats, it wasn't even a male cat, for no reason, just because it was other than it was just too lazy to get up and go outside, it urinated on my computer desk over there, about 3 inches away from an $800 Toshiba notebook computer that I just bought new last year. You know, so you know what the chancleta is, right? So I went after the cat with the chancleta. If you don't know what a chancleta is, that's a chancleta. I just bought these ones in El Salvador. And you just go and you whack the cat. And so, like, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm some kind of saint living up here or anything, and nothing ever gets to me. And that's the whole myth of this bullshit, okay? And the religions propagate this to make us all feel stupid, spiritually inferior. Oh, you're no saint. No, I'm not, and I don't think I ever want to be one. But my love of the Creator is as intense as the saints. So go fuck yourself, right? And don't be afraid to say that once in a while. Because in a perfect world, you can do whatever you want as long as you're willing to pay the price or reap the reward. Either or. So it's a perfect world. So I came up here, built the house, and I think all in, we started in like 2016. My son had to go home for a while, and then we finished in 2017. And but even then, it wasn't fully finished. It took me probably, well, including the renovations I've got going on now. I mean, this house has been an 8-year project. I've never really stopped building and adding stuff on. I've already redone the roofs on the 2 main houses twice now. Well, the first time and a second time. And I did that because the first roofs we did on the back house, we did it all in wood, and it just didn't work out, right? And one of the things we did up here is I didn't bring any professional construction people up here. This place was all built by my son and the people who live here. And they were fascinated to learn how to build these earth bag houses too. I mean, to this day, I get guys driving up here who worked on my house 8 years ago. They come up with their new girlfriends and they just want to show them this project they worked on 8 years ago. So 2017, I spent pretty much by myself. And I had no internet and no TV and no radio up here. I had a SIM card in my cell phone, and I used to have to pay about $300 a month for all the data I used. Because I didn't have residency in this country, I couldn't get a plan, so I just had to pay as I went. And I lived off my savings for the first 2 years. I didn't really work that much because I wasn't set up to work. Okay? I mean, the way things have changed up here, it's just, I mean, now, holy cow, I got the sauna going. I got the deck around the pool built. I got a water system built. So I catch, like the back building is about 40 feet long. That's a long building. It's got 3 rooms and a big front balcony. And I put black plastic eaves troughing in the back and in the front, and PVC drainage pipe about that thick, 4 inches thick, and brought it down, buried it in the earth, and drilled holes right in the side of the pool, and brought the PVC right into the pool, and then cemented over the hole and painted it. And so now one good rainfall of like an hour of rain up here will fill my entire pool. And my pool, it used to take me 2 days to fill it from the rubber hose that came out of my water tank. And one water tank couldn't fill the whole thing. So I had to improve the water system. I had to improve everything up here, and I'm getting ready for tourism. And I just did it in my own time. Now, on top of that, as many of you know, I wrote 4 books up here. I wrote Stardust Ranch, The Light of Darkness, The Galactic Historian, and The Devil in Us. Right? And I started that project in like middle of 2019. So it's 2024 now. So that's like 5 years. So I've written 4 books in 5 years. So I've kept pretty busy up here. And throughout it all, I've had to go through some really odd cultural things, right? Like, I don't really care about money that much. I mean, when I say I'm stoic, I mean I'm stoic. And what I mean by that is if I had nothing but white rice and 2 eggs to eat every day, one bowl of rice and 2 fried eggs on top of it, I would never complain. Ever. Okay? But, you know, you get married and wives want certain things and you got to take care of their families. So there was a lot of pressure put on me to work. And I'm like, well, I'm not going back to full-time work. It's ridiculous. I came here to semi-retire and to do what I want to do. And I want to write books. And so at the beginning, I mean, it takes about 6 months to write a book. And so I might have X number of dollars in the bank, like, you know, $8,000, and you got to live on that for 6 months, which is not too hard to do up here. But when you've got stuff creeping up all the time, like $400 for prescription medicine for somebody who just had an accident in the family, and you know, so money goes. Money always finds a way to go, no matter where you live and how you live. I mean, if you go out into the jungle by yourself, build a little hut, and just live off the fruit and the trees and the water and the mountain streams, you're not going to have to worry about money. But if you get married and you enter a family, you're going to have to worry about money, or at least give it some consideration, right? So I'm working on this first book, Stardust Ranch, and my wife is she just cannot get over this. She's like, well, how is this going to work? I said, well, I'm going to write the book, and I'm going to put it on Amazon, and I'm going to sell it. And she's like, well, how much money are you going to make? I said, I don't know. It could be $100, it could be $1,000, it could be $10,000. I really don't know. And she's going, well, that's not a very good idea. You know, women are very practical. They are the earth, and men are whatever, the sun or space. Or the male consciousness is always leaving the earth, and the female consciousness is always grounded on the earth. So I'm going through all this stuff, and then all the super weird stuff starts happening. Okay, portals opening up, and you can smell them. All this super weird shit, right? And my wife's gone through all that with me as well, like all the weirdness of these books, and every one is just a little bit weirder than the other. And so that was quite a journey. And now here we are, 5 years since I wrote Stardust Ranch, published December 31st, 2019. And, I call up the life of the book sales and show my wife. I said, okay, this is just one of the books I wrote. And, it's like, whatever, 32,000 in sales over 5 years. And she's going, holy cow. And I mean, even that's not really great money, So the 6 months it took me to write that book, so 6 into 30 is 5. So that's, $5,000 a month I made writing that book. But that book is just going to keep selling, I think, for the next, I don't know how many years. It just doesn't stop selling. And so now my wife is like, wow, I mean, this guy, he knows some stuff, right? Anyways, so you're up here, you're getting used to things, you're getting used to living with people and all of this sort of thing. And there's so many things in my life now that are the opposite of how most of my life has been. Most of my life has been lived alone. Okay, I mean, I was with my son's mother maybe 3 years, 4 years before we divorced. The next longest relationship I had after that was I think 2.5, 3 years. And very often for similar reasons, because I just could not be that guy that goes into the cubicle every day, Monday to Friday, and tries to climb that ladder and make more money. And in my experience, women will always say they're okay with that at the beginning of the relationship, but it's a lie. They always want money, right? Women will not support men. Men will support women, but women will not support men. There are exceptions. I've seen exceptions to it. So it's not an absolute, but as a general rule, it's true, okay? And this is just the way the world is. I mean, there's really this sort of fixed idea of what we are. Now, how all the transgenders are going to get it worked out, I have no idea. I don't think these people know what they're getting. I really don't want to get into a controversial topic. Today's podcast is a perfect world. I'm going to stay with that, okay? But you know me, I can't help myself, right? I get fish hooked into these things. But just to finish that thought, because it's so interesting, how are these transgenders going to go into middle life and old age? Do they have any idea the misery and imbalance and suicidal tendencies suicidal ideation that they're setting themselves up for? If they knew, they wouldn't do the transgender thing. Okay? I don't think there's any example of a transgender person coupling with someone and living happily till they die, and adopting children and raising children and having a family, and those children having children and grandchildren. It just doesn't happen, right? And so, however alluring this may seem in youth, over the course of a life of like 75, 85 years, I mean, swapping your gender out, I think, is basically a declaration that you're going to kill yourself before 50 or 55 or 60, right? It's very strange. So what else can I talk about, about what is so right about, life, and why I think it's a perfect world? I think it's a perfect world because the world functions perfectly. You get exactly what you put into it. There's no, and anybody walking around with victim consciousness is a bullshitter. Okay? That's not to say that there aren't obstacles, there aren't prejudices and those things. There are. But a determined person will transcend all of those things. Okay? They'll just get past them. And I think the most important thing is living the life that you want to live. Okay? Not having a life forced on you. Or, and I think people are starting to get that now. Because fewer and fewer people are getting university educations. A lot of people are learning trades and doing other things. They don't want to go to school because it's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, unless you're going to be an electrical engineer or a chemical engineer or something like that, something concrete and tangible, there's absolutely no reason to be going to school now, to university. I mean, what for? I mean, to get I don't know, like a queer study, a master's in gay studies? What are you going to do with that? What value does that have? None. Nobody cares, right? Absolutely none. So, it just is the way it is. And when you realize it's a perfect world and you take responsibility for your own creations, both in your thoughts and in your reality, what you then start to realize is that, that is the beginning of the manifestation of your perfect world. The realization that the world is perfect and all imperfection in the world is the product of human thinking and human behavior. Okay? That's a huge milestone in your thinking and your perception. Huge, huge. And it means you're very close to creating your own perfect world. I created my own perfect world in the middle of nowhere. And it's perfect for me. It's perfect in every way. And I literally, at this point, cannot imagine a better life than the one I'm living. You know what? I have no fantasies anymore. I haven't for a long time. Probably my last fantasy, or my last imagining that I wanted to materialize, because fantasies don't have constructive materialization. They're not constructive uses of imagination. But my last imagining was this place I'm living in now. And that took place in like 2012. Right? So I'm 12 years from the last imagining in my life, which is a huge thing, because when you stop desiring and imagining and fantasizing, it's a huge leap forward spiritually because you can start to see what's going on around you much more clearly. Makes sense when you think about it, right? It's really not that complicated. Not that complicated at all. Very simple, very straightforward. So everything I do in a day now is something that I want to do. Okay? I want to read this book. I want to watch this documentary. I want to meditate for 2 hours. I want to do yoga for 45 minutes. I want to talk to my wife on the front balcony for an hour about the family and what's going on and all the stuff she needs to talk about. I want to do that. There's not a single thing in my life now that I have to do that I don't want to do. Everything I do in my life, I do because I want to do it. Very interesting. And what greater blessing could there be in a life than that? I mean, even the billionaires and trillionaires don't have that. They're completely locked into their crazy fantasies of being omnipotent and super powerful and figuring and their place in history. You know, I was pivotal in turning the world in this direction in the 20th and 21st century. Look at me. Bill Gates, I'm going to go down in the history books. You know, who cares? That guy's trapped in himself, trapped in his own constructions, right? Might not be the best of analogies because I don't even think a lot of those guys are really there anymore. I don't think they're human. I think whatever's going on, I don't know, cloning or what have you, but they're not there. But my point is that the realization that the world is perfect is the point at which you begin to manifest your own perfection in the world. And it's going to be different for everybody. Okay, somebody else's perfection might be a little winterized cottage in Cape Cod, or a little cabin in Rhode Island, something like that, right? But just a place where they can go and they can live their lives as they want to live their lives. Now, in the present system we're in, really the only time that people get to do that is when they're old and they're retired and they got nothing to do except what they want to do. But if they stayed in the system their whole lives, there's nothing left for them to do. You know, there's nothing left for them to do. And their habits are so formed and so entrenched that they really can't change. And so they grow old in some form of misery or stupidity. All of their creativity and all of their drive is gone. No relationship with the divine. It would be, I think it would almost be like one of the most horrible things I could imagine would be to grow old with no comprehension of the divine. Like, I don't understand how people can do it. I don't think they can, to be honest with you. I think that if we could put a periscope into the head of Richard Dawkins, I would strongly suspect that he's suicidal 80-90% of the time, wondering why he's staying alive. What is there to stay alive for? Right? When you realize it's a perfect world, you stay alive because there's purpose because that's the life you were given and you follow it out to a T. Because a higher and more perfect part of you planned out this life before you came into this body. Who are you in the more imperfect form, the limited physical consciousness, to contradict the spiritual you that planned the life? Right? It makes no sense. And then everything just gets easy. And it just gets more relaxed. And there's nothing really to worry about. There's nothing to get stressed out about. You know? And then that's when you really start to grow spiritually. That's when you really, in a sense, make a monastery out of your life, but your own monastery. Not a religious monastery, but you spiritualize your life and your life becomes monastic because every moment you're alive, you're living spiritually. And you see the beauty in other people, even if they're deeply flawed, even if they're crackheads. We have crackheads on the mountain. You see the beauty in them. You see the beauty in everything. You see the divinity in everything. You see the life in everything. And that's something that you can't unsee once you see it. You can't go back to living any other way after you've started living this way. None whatsoever. Another thing that happened up here is I got animals. I got the cats and the dogs. My whole life, I never had a pet. Well, we had a cat when I was growing up, but nobody really liked that cat. And, we had, now I have, I've always got two dogs. Usually I get American Staffordshire Terriers, aka the Pit Bull. In the right environment, it's an absolutely beautiful and loving dog. Good with kids, good with everybody, and you sleep like a baby, man, with a couple pit bulls around. I mean, you just sleep like a baby, right? When I first moved up here, people were worried my dogs were going to kill me. They were just terrified of my dogs. But those dogs, they just love me, and they've always loved me. You just got to treat the animals right, and spend time with them, give them affection every day, and they're just going to be super loyal to you. And they're never on change. Well, one of them is always on a chain, because you can't really let the two of them off at the same time, or they'll go a little bit wonky. They'll go off and hunt something or something like that, and you could get into a little bit of trouble. They'll go kill something because they're hunting. They're like killer dogs, really, right? At the natural level, they're killer dogs. So I got a couple pit bulls, and I lived up here with my dogs by myself for the longest period of time, and I never really left here, right? Never really left here. And it was all just very beautiful, very, very beautiful, and it's been beautiful ever since I came up here. But there were tremendous trials, certain trials that other people would not survive, perhaps. Number one is you got to learn a new language. And I knew this would not be that hard for me because I'd already learned Mandarin when I lived in Taiwan. One of the affectations of my son coming over here and working so much on the houses is he learned Spanish. He speaks really good Spanish now. So I would say he's almost fluent. With maybe a year of coursework, he could be a translator. That's how good my son speaks Spanish now. Which is kind of an amazing thing when you think about it, right? And that's a gift I gave my son, was the gift of another language. I did that. I take credit for that by bringing him over here. Life-altering experience for him, to come over here and experience another culture, and to see a very rustic and remote place like this. They love him on the reserve. He's welcome on the reserve anytime he wants to go up there and hang out with them and sleep over for a night at somebody's house on the reserve. And this is a wilder part of the world than Canada or the United States. So my son's not afraid anywhere he goes in North America. He's we at our height, we had about 8 guys on the earthbag building crew. And I think 2 or 3 of them had been shot, right? They had bullet holes, So that, and, my son's mixing with these people and befriending them when he's 18 years old. And they still know each other to this day, 10 years later. Now, I'm not saying that to sound, like I'm in a Martin Scorsese film. I'm not saying that to make it sound cool. I don't think it's cool to get shot. But for a Canadian kid raised in the suburbs of Toronto to come over to Central America and experience this and to see how life goes and everything, it's just really something. and so he's a much more mature person for it. He's certainly not soft the way North Americans are. He's not soft at all, So he's got all that going. And what else? Well, when you look at the world now, it's pretty dicey, right? But really, it's a perfect world. Remember what I said, the only imperfection in the world is the thinking and actions of human beings. And all of this insanity is the product of the thinking and actions of human beings. Human beings wrote these scriptures. Okay? Human beings wrote the Bible. Human beings wrote the Quran. Human beings wrote the Torah. I don't mean to offend you if you think they were maybe inspired by God. Okay, I could maybe buy that. I would say that they were inspired by something other than a human being. We could definitely agree on that. But ultimately, they create a lot of problems. And what are they? They're the thinking and behavior of human beings. And it's about these Abrahamic technologies are like a time bomb in the world now. But I said I wasn't going to go to anything dark in this podcast. This podcast is a perfect world. And it is a perfect world. There's nothing wrong with the world now. Everything they're telling you that's wrong with the world now is a complete and total lie. Okay? There's no climate change. It's complete bullshit. Well, there is, but it's not man-made. Okay? The wind blows. Food still grows in the ground. Animals can still live their lives. The rivers are flowing. The birds are flying. The world is exactly the same world it's always been. The only thing that's changed it to make it look like an ugly or an imperfect world is human behavior. That's it. It's a perfect world. I'm telling you, I'm not saying this as a slogan for today's podcast. I'm telling you a fact. You live in a perfect world. All imperfections are the product of your thinking and your perception and your actions and the consequences of those actions. But the world itself is perfect. It's always been perfect. Always. And it always will be perfect. Long after these worshippers of Yahweh and Allah and whatever are gone, it's still going to be a perfect world. It's still going to be an incredible place for the right person to come and grow their consciousness like a flower blooming, to leave the physical and consciously go into the non-physical, which is what a human life is for. That fulcrum still works. That offer and that extension to life is and supernatural life and the divine, it's still all here. Nothing's changed. Nothing at all has changed. It's the same world it's been since the beginning of time. Okay? The world is always perfect. The only imperfection is our inability to see the perfection. Okay? And that's always because we're too wrapped up in our own bullshit. I think I'm going to play another song, take a little break, go get a cup of coffee, come back and talk some more, maybe take a call or two, we'll see. Whatever you guys want to do.
All the like backstage. Yeah, yeah. If I'm playing it on my YouTube right now on the Skype, I can't hear it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have Chris with me here right now. That's a gem of a song called Three of a Perfect Pair by King Crimson, the reformed King Crimson. Okay, because they were together in the 70s and then they came back together again sometime later in the 80s, and they're still around, but one of my listeners is a big Tony Levin fan who was the bassist for King Crimson, so that was for him. And for those of you who've read The Devil in Us, the inscription is in some measure taken from that song I just played called Three of a Perfect Pair, because the inscription for the book is for my father, Michael Allen McDonald, and my son, Brandon Michael McDonald. We are three of a perfect pair, and from now on we will live well and we will die well, because it's the breaking of a generational curse. But that idea of a three of a perfect pair, now not many people know what the dedication is because I wrote it in Gaelic. But that's what it is when it's translated to English. So, yeah. Chris, how you doing, brother?
Good. Another day in paradise over here. Heaven in Devon is what I call this place. You know, I'm much like you. It's like seeing a new color for the first time, right? And once you've seen this color, it's like you can never unsee it. It's always present.
Yeah.
And you talk about the perfect world. You know, it's and for someone like us who have seen both sides of the fence when it comes down to the culture of society, you know, the low end and the high end.
Yeah.
Right. You lived it around both, and
Yeah.
so did I. I became the low end of society.
And when you think about it, all the misery you cause yourself in life is the pursuit of things that you think you want but you don't really need. Right? All the imperfections in our life are created by our own stupid desires, our own traumas, all of this sort of nonsense. And then sometime at a certain age, you just kind of like, but not for everybody. And some people never get the chance because their mistakes are so grievous or pre-planned, if you want to look at it that way, that they never get the chance to go into old age and see that the world was always perfect, and that they were just making it imperfect through their own behavior. Right. And there's a lot of that going on now. You know, I mean, everything in the world is just the deliberate casting of imperfection, you know?
It's being done on the macro level.
Oh,
now,
absolutely.
Right? With world systems.
Yeah.
And, you know, is it on purpose? I believe so. Is there an end game? I definitely believe so.
Yeah.
And you know, more and more and more we come to that point where we have the jigsaw puzzle up on the wall, right? And we're putting it up there piece by piece, and we can tell what it is. We just don't have the full picture, but we can certainly tell that it's like if I had a jigsaw of a balloon, right? And we're just missing a few pieces. We knew it was a balloon. We just didn't know who was sponsoring the balloon because the sponsor was missing. So there's not much on a personal level that, as individuals, any of us can do about it.
No, nothing really, actually. To be honest, there's nothing we can do, Chris.
No, it's just try to live in the present, right, into the now, and remain there. You know, stay in the now. Don't go into the future or the past. And and then kind of take off your blinders if you have any, right?
Yeah. So and then you get what I call grace. And grace is, if you want to look at it even as a non-religious term, it's that little spark of
It's a
that little
gift.
spark of like magic and wonder at being alive. Most people lose it somewhere between 8 and 12 years old, or earlier if you come from a really dark family. But it's that little spark of wonder, and most people never get it back in their lives. And but if you can get it back, it can't be bought, man. Like if you could bottle it, you'd be a trillionaire, right? And
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
the knowing that everything you do has purpose and meaning, and that everything is perfect and everything is beautiful. This is a weird podcast for me, Chris, because I'm usually the guy talking about all the really friggin' horrible stuff, man. But people don't know me
Well,
off air.
you
I
know,
mean, I don't like, if I were to try and brood around here thinking about the weight of the world, I'd just get cuffed by my wife and go, "The hell's the matter with you? Wake up, you idiot!" you know?
yeah, I believe that there's only a few of us that are actually chosen for a purpose of spreading the good news, right? And the good news is that everything that they're teaching you down here, when you get to the other side, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's
It just
it's just a constant
it's
misdirection
like
what's going on down here, right? And then
right,
everybody
right.
buys in. What happens is everybody is forced to buy into it because you got to buy into it in some measure to find a good mate and get married and have a normal biological life. Because and I don't want to start a fight, not on a podcast called A Perfect World, but there's something magical captured in Genesis in the Bible where Eve bites the apple. And the controllers of this planet know that to control men, control the women, because men are going to follow the women, because men want to breed, right? And so the women are always what they go after first, okay? And that, no, please don't confuse that with, I think that we should be living like Iranian women in full burqas or anything like that. Although you do know my tagline, right, Chris? Would you rather your daughter end up in a burqa
Uh,
or on OnlyFans? What? And
yeah, but I'll
most of
take.
these retarded liberals in the United States would say, "Well, OnlyFans because it's her decision." And oh, really? All right, okay, yeah. But it just reveals how
Yeah,
stupid these people are, right? And just getting stupider by the
yeah.
day. Sorry, I'm talking too much, buddy.
You you know why they wear the burqa, right? It's because all the dudes are just a bunch of perverts, and so they cover up their women so the other guys can't lust after their wives or their daughters.
No, I did not know that. I thought it was in the
No, that's my perception of it. I doubt if that's true. There's probably some kind of religious thing to it, right?
Yeah, I think.
Because with the Muslim life, everything about your life has got to do with your God, right? Your
Yeah,
connection to God. It's a lot different than Christian world. In the Christian world, my experience was you go to church on Sunday, repent, and you're good, right?
yeah.
And come to find out, none of that works like that.
No, none of it works like that at all. None of it. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
None of it was and as I when I do project my thoughts forward, right? I look at the potential outcomes of things, and I haven't I haven't rationalized or figured out or come up with any really good way that we're going to solve this problem without some kind of extreme change.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
you know,
You and I are on the same page. Like it has to get even worse before it gets better because people don't get it yet, right? Everybody's got to
right,
get to that point where it's a perfect world, and we're the ones that have been making it imperfect, right?
right,
But the
right.
perfect world was given to us to study and understand our own imperfections so we could overcome them, right?
Yeah. And the idea that I have is that we are here so that the spiritual being can have a 3D experience: touch, feel,
Yeah.
smell, hear, dance,
Yeah.
procreate, you know,
That's
feast.
that's one thing you never did, eh? You never had any kids.
No, well, I had a wife that got pregnant and had a child, but I don't think it was mine.
Oh God, I'm sorry you brought it up,
But
buddy.
yeah, it didn't happen. And then that was ironical because it happened when she was 3.
Hmm.
This little girl was 3, and then I went to prison in Michigan, right,
Yeah.
and just kind of broke apart and never saw him again, right.
Jail or prison?
Uh, prison, prison in Michigan.
Medium security, minimum security.
Yeah, it was pretty minimum. I was at first sent to the big house, right, and then they give you a 30-day
Yeah.
evaluation, and after that they assign you to a duty or a job if you want, if you want to work. And so I helped build picnic tables for the state parks.
That's hilarious, man. So if somebody were to go
So
to
it was cool.
Michigan for a picnic now, they might look under the table and see chiseled in there, Chris was here. Made
Made
by
by
Chris,
Chris.
yeah. What what's
That's
that
funny,
like,
and
prison?
it's uh, a very hardcore form of. I mean, institutionalism is as far as communication with people. There's no you can't show any weaknesses or genuine emotion other than what would be perceived as being angry or being violent. Right? There's not a lot of love in prison,
Yeah.
and and it's restrictive, right, and confining. But I would get like 20 books and read a chapter out at a time out of each book, and it was like changing the channels on a TV, right? Go from one book to the next to the next to the next, and I did a lot of that, and of course with card playing and stuff like that. But I've been institutionalized most of my life. I was in the orphanage. I was in the United States Navy, and then of course all my arrests and the time served I've done in various county jails
Yeah.
around the country, United States.
Where'd you get that hat?
This comes from Stetson.com.
Oh, they act
It's a buffalo hat.
okay, and it's leather, right?
It's a buffalo leather,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's I have a very similar.
Yeah, I've seen your hat. Yeah. Your
We
neighbor
got
made your hat,
we
right?
got a caller, Chris. Um,
Oh,
No. Hi, it's Maria.
Hi Maria, how are you?
I'm good. Are you online?
Yeah,
Oh, I just wanted to
you,
say that I see your
you're
bravery
on
every
air. You know
day,
that, right?
so I decided to be brave. Yes, yes, I decided to be brave and call you back
Oh, okay.
because you've had a great influence
Well,
on my
that's
life.
very kind of you to say, Maria. I don't know, Chris. Do you find your volume a bit low?
I told me to put her mouth closer to the phone if you're using
Yeah,
a cell phone.
just go a little bit closer to the phone.
Okay, I'll put my mouth, or I can take my headset out. I'll just put it on.
Speaker.
I'll put it on
Yeah, that's
speaker.
good. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is order some authors copies of my books, and send them to the three biggest jails in the Toronto area, Maplehurst and they all house like 1,500 prisoners. Just like as an insurance policy if I ever get thrown back in, right? And hey, that's me. Hey.
Yeah.
Hi, Maria.
You to read your own book.
Yeah,
I
and
I just wanted to say I love your show. I've read all your books, including your nonfiction,
you mean
and
my
there's
fiction?
something in the writing that changes. I've read your
Okay,
fiction,
all right. So
God is
we gotta
Economist,
talk about
and
this a little bit. So you've read God as an Economist?
okay,
You liked
yes,
it?
and I read the one about the man who was a detective,
Oh,
and he was trying to locate the kid that was
The Stolen
stolen.
Child. Oh my God. So,
Yes,
Uh-huh.
oh
that's it.
yeah, folks,
Wow.
it's you got to understand that what you're reading in The Light of Darkness and The Devil in Us and Stardust Ranch, you'll see my understanding of these topics in the fiction I wrote 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? And it's Maria, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I couldn't
When
believe I couldn't
I
believe
look
what
at the
you
sales on
wrote.
Amazon, I do wonder, like, who the hell bought that copy of The Stolen Child?
That
Yeah,
was me.
I love that book.
And you
That's
wrote
good.
it a long
Yeah,
time ago, and it describes what's happening here with ritual sacrifice of
yeah.
children.
Yeah.
Like I started that book in 2010 and finished it in 2012, and it's more relevant today.
Yeah.
I am blocked. I am cosmically blocked from breaking into this system. They've reserved that right for people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, even though I've been way ahead of them. But that's okay,
Yeah.
right? But thank you very much, Maria. Share those books too. Yeah.
hmm Oh, I will. I'll share with my sister. She likes to
Okay.
read.
Well, thanks for calling in. I'm going to have to let you go because we can
You're welcome.
okay. All right.
Yeah. I just wanted to
Okay.
say
Thanks,
hi.
Maria.
Bye.
See, folks, it's that easy. You
Bye-bye.
can call in. It's no big deal. And
That was pretty cool. Somebody had read The Stolen Child.
oh, that
Really
may be my
cool.
favorite as the author. That may be my favorite book of all the books I've written, fiction and nonfiction. It's the most perfect story I've ever told. And if any of you folks read it, just imagine it as a movie with Keanu Reeves playing Detective Sergeant Raymond Burke. And yeah, and then but it really explains what's going on in the world. And I've known a long time. I've known spiritually, and the rest is just putting the details together, right? And that's why I've had all this serendipity and met people like John and Bob and stuff like that, and these things have come out.
Isn't it interesting, Bruce, that the timing of this P. Diddy thing coming out right around this
Well, you're gonna
time?
have to explain that to me as somebody living in a first world Western country. I don't know. It's just before the election. Another thing I find really odd is the synchronicity between the United States and Great Britain, because the last time Trump got elected, we were following Britain as much as the American election, and Brexit happened just before Trump got elected, and now we have the Great
Yeah.
British Nationalist Uprising, and we have Trump on the verge of getting reelected, and he is going to get reelected. There's nothing the Epic Journeyman can do to stop it. And he's the right man to get elected right now, right? So,
Yeah. It's whichever way it goes, it's going to be a chaos filled week or two. It's just gonna, because the left will go nuts.
well, if you
right?
think
They'll just go nuts.
January 6th was bad, wait till you see what these Marxist insurgents do when they lose the election. It's going to be a true insurrection,
Right.
right? And they're going to get put down real quick because we got all the killers on our side. We got all the ex-Navy SEALs, all the ex-Delta Force, and
Yeah.
all that stuff, right? Like all the hunters, all the truck drivers, all the people who
Yeah.
can knock someone out with one
You know.
punch. They're all on the right.
Yeah. Yeah. Pelosi, was in charge of the security around the Capitol,
Yeah.
right? That day, and she turned down the offers from the President Trump for 10,000 National Guard
Yeah.
and things like that. She's no. And I think the conspiracy goes like this: that she knew that the FBI had a team set up to instigate the crowd to really do a real right stop
Yeah.
fire. Right, that's what they
Yeah.
wanted. They wanted to see all this massive
Yeah.
destruction and because they were prepared to kill. Right, they killed
Yeah.
Ashley Babbitt. You know, um, and nobody died on the other side
No.
that day. No matter how many times you hear it
Yeah.
in the news, you know, no one died as a direct result of anything that the Trump supporters
Yeah.
were doing.
No, they're evil. I mean, we're in total agreement on that, Chris. I mean, the left is truly evil at this point. You know, absolutely
Yeah.
diabolical, and the only
And they know that we know, and they don't care that we know.
well, I mean,
Right?
even Hillary Clinton has popped her head up again like a spring gopher. You know, talking about arresting people for disinformation on social media, and you know, basically what she's saying is don't contradict the propaganda we're legally allowed to do under the National Defense Authorization Act, or you'll go to jail because we can do it and you can't. You know,
The re-education camps.
you know, and I gotta say, like a lot of people are really bothering me these days. I mean, as much as people can bother me, I don't lose sleep over it or anything. But one of the shows I've been watching since the first incursion into Iraq is I've been watching Bill Maher. I watched him when he did Politically Incorrect on ABC, and then he went over to HBO and got Real Time with Bill Maher. And the thing about Bill Maher is sometimes he's right, but I mean he's just really dumb, right?
Oh,
What's that?
yeah, hold on. Oh, I got something. Go ahead. I'm
And
good.
he's just really dumb. I call him Bill. Don't forget the balls, baby Maher. I mean, he spent his whole life. He spent half his adult life at the Playboy Mansion, right? Never got married, never had any
Yeah.
kids. And you know, when I see people like that, I ask out loud, well, you haven't even made an investment in this society. You're not even, your genes aren't even going on into the next generation, you know. Why is it so important? But
Yeah.
he just gets everything wrong, you know, thinks people who think 9/11 is anything but what they say it is a lunatic. And I'm going, Bill, oh my God, you just don't know how far off the mark you are, right? And I wonder sometimes, Chris, this is an interesting little conversation we can have if you're not ready to go yet. You're not ready to go yet, are you?
No, I'm good. I'm good all
Okay.
night. You know me.
How do people lose their perception? How could somebody as smart as Bill Maher look at 9/11 and believe two planes hit those towers and Building 7 collapsed as collateral damage due to the explosions and reverberations from the two main towers? How could he not see the controlled demolition of those buildings? How could he not understand the engineering? Like, do you think he really knows and he just doesn't want he just to maintain his own?
That's right. I think he knows the truth and he doesn't want to say anything because he's afraid.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people like that in media, you know. Maybe I'd be afraid too if
Sure.
I was making
Yeah.
$1 million or $2 million a year, working one day a week for a 1 hour talk show on HBO. And
You know what?
those Playboy bunnies cost a lot, you know, Chris. It's
They
not
sure
it's
do.
not all just Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy and the compromising party videos. For some people it's just they don't want to give up their habits, like sleeping with Playboy bunnies despite the fact they're not physically attractive, or you know. And
Yeah.
it really bothers me the way he keeps doing sex jokes. Like sex jokes, I mean, he's like the dirty great uncle of America now, right? And I don't think he
Yeah.
sees what a creep he's become, you know?
Well, when you reach that level of entitlement with the kind of money that he's bringing in, right?
Yeah.
He and he I guess he feels he's one of the protected
Yeah.
class, right? Media, and so he probably also believes that he can cross barriers that other
Yeah.
people can't, right? talk about things that other people can't or shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it makes him interesting. I think he's pretty damn boring myself.
Yeah.
Obnoxiously boring, right?
Hmm.
But the true journalists, really, they're few and far between, right? Today they're just script writers or script
Yeah.
readers. They're not even writing their own content.
Yeah. 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 You're absolutely right, man. It's just a joke, man. It's just the whole thing's just become a joke. This call in now, the way I figured out OBS, it's pretty dope. Can you see yourself in the podcast on YouTube? Because it's
Yes, I
completely different
can.
than Skype. You don't even see me in Skype because I don't have to turn my Skype camera on because I'm just going through OBS. But yeah, hey, so you know what else is wacky that I'm doing these
Yeah.
days? I just when I
Uh,
got the oven about a year ago, I started baking a lot of bread, and I got
bread thing,
bloated,
yeah.
and I always had gas. I mean, and my wife said, "Look, you got to stop eating bread." And then about a week ago, I just said, "Okay, that's it. I'm off carbs for a while. I'm gonna do like that Atkins or Jordan Peterson diet, but the vegetarian version of it. I'm just gonna eat protein and no carbohydrates, but all my protein is gonna be vegetarian." So I just literally eat omelets and yogurt now, and I feel fantastic. I
Right.
feel like $1,000,000. I sleep less. I
Yeah.
exercise every day, and you don't get hungry when you eat solid protein based food, and you can do it as a vegetarian. Now vegan, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think vegan is like suicidal ideation in the physical form, because it's so hard to get your protein as a vegan, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to pretty much live on. You'd have to eat like $30 or $40 of high end nuts a day, like cashews and pecans and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, a couple hundred years ago, right? Human beings didn't have food production, right? They didn't have these massive hog farms and poultry
Yeah.
farms and slaughterhouses all
Yeah.
over the place. You had to go to your community butcher, or you had to go to the milkman, or you had to go to the
Yeah.
cheese lady. You know? And no, there was no electricity, and for the most part, I think people lived very nice lives. I think that they really had a good life back before all this modern technology of the 21st
Yeah.
century. It's kind of like the difference it was between us growing up as non-internet kids. We're different than the children that are growing up today.
Yeah.
And it's pre-internet and post-internet, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if you're going to nail down one single thing that really has screwed up the world is the internet,
Yeah. But
the
it's
way it
also
operates.
it's also liberated us.
Correct. It's a two-edged sword, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the devil, right?
Yeah.
There has to be choice. There has to be decision or intention.
Yeah.
When you're looking at stuff that you shouldn't be looking at. What are you
Yeah.
really thinking? You
Yeah.
know,
Have you ever been on the dark web?
yeah, once.
I've never even been tempted to go and look at it. No desire whatsoever.
Yeah. This
Right?
dope, this dope dealer I knew, he got on it and he would show me that drug dealing, like Silk Road thing,
Yeah.
right? Before it got arrested, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was way operational.
That
And
that was
I,
but that was actually kind of Robin Hoodish, wasn't it? Like discount
at
prescription
first,
drugs that people genuinely needed for health conditions.
at first, right, yeah, and then it turned into this monster that it turned into, and they're still out there. I mean, they're like eBay sites for drugs today. Right now, I can go on there and order whatever hell I wanted, You can even go to China and order fentanyl analogs and make your own fentanyl. And
Unbelievable.
if you can get it through customs, right? And what percentage of the mail gets checked
Yeah.
for dust? Or, I don't
So
know.
let me ask you a question as somebody who really understands drug culture. Now, most people who OD on fentanyl, are they conscious of the fact that they're doing fentanyl, or is the fentanyl mixed into other drugs and they don't know they're taking it?
The There's two types of people that die from the fentanyl, and one of them is the innocents. Those are like the 15, 16, 17-year-old kids go to a party on the weekend. One of their buddies bought 5 Xanax from a dude that his brother knows, and he hands them out to his 4 friends. They all take one, and it's 30 milligrams of fentanyl, which is fatal, right,
Yeah.
to a normal person. And they drop dead.
Wow.
That's one way to
That's
die.
that's murder though.
Uh, that's total murder. And then the other way is you have to go back a number of years into Purdue Pharma and OxyContin and all that stuff. How one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And now we're into the China drops the dope off the coast of Mexico. The cartel brings it in. They send it out to their 400 or 500 little dope houses they have around northern Mexico. Each house produces 50,000 pills a day. You do the math, right? It's billions of pills a year.
Yeah.
And it's intentional chemical warfare. And but when you get people hooked on a prescription drug, or when you have doctors giving it out for things like root canals or a broken finger or something minor, but they're giving you a narcotic that's been marketed as non-addictive, and then you cut them off. You say you can't get this drug any longer. That's when you get all these people going into the illegal drug market. And
Yeah.
at first it was heroin. There was a surge in heroin use, and
Yeah.
then that's when the Chinese and the cartels got together and said, "Hey, I got a way to kill off a couple 100,000 Americans and Canadians each year.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?" And the Chinese don't care about the money. The cartels make all the money. The Chinese only care about the body count, right? And all you have to do is go on YouTube and type in Kensington, Pennsylvania, and if it's not in your neighborhood yet, that's what's coming to your neighborhood. Just
Yeah.
take a look at it, and if you don't feel something very, very bad something really, really bad has happened to our country, that's all you got to see.
Yeah.
If you don't feel anything like that, then you might not have a soul, right?
Well, I'm not sure a lot of people do anymore. The soul can be killed. I mean, the soul is your ability to feel, to give and receive love.
Right.
Pop on your camera there, please, Santo, and I'll bring you right in here. We'll do a 3-screen camera here if you're up for that. Are you there, Santo? Can you speak? Yeah, we can't hear you, Santo. I don't know what's going on there.
There's a lot of echo.
Well, that's on your end, my friend. I don't know what's going on there, but that's on your friend. That's on your end. Yeah. Um, Can you hear us? Okay. Can you hear Santo, Chris?
No.
Isn't that interesting?
There's too much echo.
Oh, there, I hear something.
Yeah, he's not speaking
Can you
that
hear
much.
me now?
No, we're gonna let you go. Okay, you gotta hang up, buddy. I thought I'd try it, but I can't. I haven't mastered the three-person conversation yet on OBS. Me bad. 30 years in technology, and I can't figure this thing out the 14-year-olds figure out in 30 minutes. Yeah, what are you gonna do? All right, see you, Santo. Thanks for dropping in.
They can do that because they've had tablets since they were 2 years old.
Yeah, they have actually, and I think that Mikhail Grumbovin, I'm pretty sure you enjoyed that King Crimson song. Um,
Yep.
yeah, I'm just talking to someone in chat here. I'm just going through all the messages. Hi, Crystal Shaman. Hi, Diversified Farmer. Hi, Kevin Tabor. You know, what else is weird, Chris, is like that whole series of podcasts I did on the devil in us. Um, if you ever want to get a little freaked out, go and read the comments on some of them now. There's this some person, and it's a different person every time, but like some person is like going in and leaving these really weird comments, like yeah, like really weird. And it's just like they tag three people, and they just keep doing this,
Wow.
like, and this has been going on for like 2 or 3 months now, and
Wow.
it's just weird. It's just weird. I can't explain it.
Some kind of tweaker doing that.
I don't think it's a tweaker, but I know what you mean. Um, yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I think that
That is a little, that is a little bit psychotic behavior.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. All right, I think we'll
let's.
wrap it up there. Unless you got anything else, I'm not in any rush. I'm just probably gonna go watch some Netflix and do some yoga. But yeah, what?
Yeah.
Anything on your mind there?
No, I just, if everybody just loves one another and give somebody a hug today, tell them you care about them.
Hmm.
Um,
The world is it's a perfect
it's,
world, man. It really is.
make yourself available to become a lifeline for people
Yeah.
because a lot of people need help, right? Lots of people need help.
Yeah, there's a lot of attacks and stuff going on now.
Right.
A lot of people are under extreme duress, either technologically or astrally. It's just a
Yeah.
lot of knots that have to be unknotted out there. And if you can do it, then
Yeah.
help people, okay? And do it. Do it for free. Do it for love. Do it for a better world. And yeah, man. You know,
Perfect.
another thing is like people seem to forget about human beings, right? Like they'll pick a cat up off the side of the road and spend $500 at the vet for some cat they don't even know, but they won't help a human being. You know, we're not
Uh,
that bad. We're just going through a rough patch now, and it's a perfect world. Chris, I'm going to let you go.
you betcha,
All
man.
right, be well, man.
Good talking to everyone.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
there goes Chrissy. And how do I get that out of there? I don't know. But I'm Bruce McDonald, and this has been the Talamanca Review.